All right, so get ready for this. We're heading to Salt Lake City. You know, the place everyone thinks about when they think about mountains. Not necessarily pro sports, right?
Right.
But this city is trying to make a name for itself. Like, seriously compete in the world of pro sports.
Yeah, and they're not just, throwing stuff at the wall and hoping it sticks. They're being pretty smart about it, really playing to their strengths. It's pretty impressive, actually. We're going to be looking at this CNBC article. Utah Hockey Club is beefing up Salt Lake City's roster as a sports hub.
So is Salt Lake City, for real, going to be a major hub for sports? I guess that's what we're going to try to figure out. It's not like Salt Lake's totally new to this whole pro sports thing, is it?
No, not at all. You've got the Utah Jazz, right? NBA team, huge fan base, and they've had some good runs. And then there's Real Salt Lake, the MLS team. And let's not forget the Utah Royals in the NWSL.
Yeah.
Soccer's definitely got a foothold there.
Right.
Oh, and of course the Winter Olympics back in 2002, right there in Salt Lake City. So yeah, they've definitely got a history with sports, especially, the winter sports. Seems like a good foundation to build on.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so a history's there. Why is everyone suddenly so interested in Salt Lake City? This article, this CNBC one, it's all about the Utah Hockey Club.
Yeah, the Utah Hockey Club. And here's the thing. This isn't like some brand new expansion team, It's the Arizona Coyotes. They moved to Salt Lake, became the Utah Hockey Club.
Right.
And it's like they've just blown up in a good way.
Selling out games, merch is flying off the shelves. I heard they even set a new record for beer sales at their arena, the Delta Center. What's driving all this excitement?
So the NHL commissioner, he said Salt Lake City just has the right people, the right demographics. And, there's definitely a proven interest in hockey there. Like we were saying, the Olympics, they held the hockey events there back in 2002. But there's this other piece of the puzzle. This guy, Ryan Smith, tech billionaire.
Okay, so Ryan Smith, the Smith Entertainment Group guy. Yeah. So he's a big deal in all this. How's he, behind this sports revolution?
Well, he's the one who brought the NHL to Salt Lake, saw the potential, put his money where his mouth is, bought the team, and he's committed to, a major, major renovation of the Delta Center.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And it doesn't just end there. He got them a practice facility, and he's planning this whole brand new training facility. This article even said that he probably put in, $200 to $300 million more than what was reported.
Wow.
That's commitment.
Yeah, you don't see that every day.
No, you don't. There's this story, actually. When they moved the team, he, personally oversaw the whole thing, going above and beyond to make sure everything was smooth for the players, the staff, even helping people find places to live, get settled in Salt Lake City.
Oh, wow. That's hands-on.
Right. But this isn't his only thing in Salt Lake sports scene, is it?
Oh, no. He's got ownership in the Jazz, Real Salt Lake, and the Royals, too. It's like he's building this whole sports empire, super committed to making Salt Lake a real multi-sport city.
So it's not just about one team. It's this whole ecosystem he's building. It really makes you wonder, what's his strategy? What's the bigger picture for Ryan Smith?
Well, I think his background in tech, that plays a huge part. He's looking beyond just putting a team on the ice or the court. He's thinking about the whole fan experience in the arena, online, the whole 9 yards.
So using tech to really connect with fans in new ways. What is he doing specifically?
Think interactive mobile apps, personalized content, even using data analytics to figure out what fans want and then tailoring the whole experience. He's taking, what works in tech and bringing it to sports, trying to build a more engaging, more connected sports culture.
That's really interesting. It makes sense, right? Nowadays, fans want to be part of the action, part of the community, not just watching.
Exactly. And owning multiple teams in one city, that gives you a big advantage when it comes to sponsors.
Oh, yeah, of course. If you're a sponsor, you can reach a much bigger audience when you partner with a group that owns a bunch of teams across different sports.
So the Utah Hockey Club, they have a good group of sponsors already.
Oh, yeah. They've got some big names. Delta, SeatGeek, American Express. They've all signed on.
That definitely shows that the team is marketable.
Yeah.
And that sponsors see potential in Salt Lake City.
For sure. And you know what really impressed the NHL commissioner at that first game? The fans.
The fans, what about them?
He was blown away by how much they knew and how excited they were. These weren't just people jumping on the bandwagon, excited about a new team. These were real fans who understood the game. They reacted to the plays. They brought this incredible energy to the arena.
So they knew their stuff.
Oh, yeah. And that passion, that real interest, that's what really sold the NHL on Salt Lake City. They weren't just bringing hockey to a city. They were bringing it home. That's pretty incredible. So you have these passionate fans, an owner who is all in with this vision of using tech, and a city that already has pro teams. That seems like a pretty good recipe for a major sports hub.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? But the question is, can Salt Lake City really go up against the giants of the sports world? Those huge markets that have been around forever, tons of fans, basically unlimited resources.
That's the million-dollar question. And one we'll keep digging into as we continue this deep dive into Salt Lake City's sports ambitions. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah, it's a bit of a David and Goliath thing, isn't it? Salt Lake City, it's not a huge market, and they're trying to take on these, giants, like LA, New York, Chicago. It makes you wonder, what are the hurdles Salt Lake City's going to have to face in this?
Well, yeah, you're right. Those bigger markets, they've got it all. They've got the history, the money, the media's always watching them. And they've already got, tons of pro teams in all these different sports. Salt Lake City's, still kind of new to this whole major sports hub thing.
Yeah, true. Building a real, lasting sports legacy, that takes time. But what's interesting is those things you think are weaknesses, Salt Lake City might actually turn them into strength.
Really? How so?
Well, think about it. What does Salt Lake City have that those big markets don't? It's got this, combo of incredible nature with this, booming, innovative culture.
Yeah, the mountains, that's a big draw. Skiing, all the outdoor stuff.
And it's becoming a real tech hub, too.
Right, exactly. Those things, they make Salt Lake City a place where people want to live, want to work. So that could bring in more talent, more investment.
And I bet, if you're a pro athlete, a city like that, with that lifestyle, it's got to be tempting. It's not just about the game, right? It's about what your life's like outside of the arena.
100%. And we're in this time now where athletes, they're speaking up more about what matters to them. They want to live in cities that, match their values, places with a good quality of life. And Salt Lake City, it checks a lot of those boxes.
Yeah.
This is starting to sound like things are really changing for Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
You always hear about these smaller cities that struggle to, keep up with the big guys. Maybe Salt Lake City's figured out how to do it.
Yeah, it's an interesting story for sure. And we can't forget about the money, This sports boom, that could really boost the economy.
Right. How so? How would that actually play out?
Well, think about the jobs, right? Not just with the teams themselves, but all the stuff around it. Hotels, restaurants, tourism, marketing, all of that.
Yeah, that CNBC article, it talked about how much money the Utah Hockey Club brought in just from those first few games. That kind of success, it can impact the whole city.
Absolutely. More businesses popping up near the arena, more people staying in hotels, and tourism. It's a big one.
Oh, yeah. People travel all over to watch their teams.
Mm-hmm.
If Salt Lake City becomes a sports destination, that's huge for tourism.
It's not just about the money, though. There's this, civic pride thing, too.
Totally. A winning team, it can bring everyone together. It's like this shared identity, a sense of accomplishment. Look at what the Jazz did for the city back in the day, those crazy playoff runs.
Exactly. Sports can give people that sense of belonging, of excitement, especially in a city like Salt Lake that's growing so fast,
Mm-hmm.
Gives everyone something to rally around, to connect over.
It's amazing how sports can do that.
Mm-hmm.
But let's be real. Building a successful sports city, it takes more than just getting some teams and hoping for the best. It takes planning, long-term vision.
Absolutely. And Salt Lake City, they get that. They're not just waiting around, they're going after it.
Like how?
Well, remember when they tried to get the 2030 Winter Olympics? It ended up going to Sapporo, Japan, but the fact they went for it, that shows they're thinking big.
Yeah, now they're going for 2034.
Yeah.
Right, they're not giving up. Shows that they really want to make Salt Lake City the place for winter sports.
Smart move. Every event, every new team they get, it builds momentum, makes them more legit in the sports world.
But they're not just focused on the big events like the Olympics, right? What about building that everyday sports culture in the city?
That's where Ryan Smith comes in again. It's not just about the pro teams. He's putting money into youth sports programs, stuff in the community to grow the next generation of athletes and fans.
So he's building from the ground up.
Yeah.
Creating this whole pipeline of talent and making sports part of the city's DNA.
Exactly. It's this mix of smart planning, getting the community involved, and this real passion for sports. That's what makes this Salt Lake City story so interesting. They're not just copying everyone else, they're doing their own thing.
It's like they're saying, hey, what are we good at? How do we use that to make a sports experience that's pure Salt Lake City?
Yeah, and that's what makes this whole deep dive so fascinating. Salt Lake City, they're not just trying to be a sports hub, they're trying to be the sports hub. But on their own terms, you know.
That's a big goal. What do you think, like, what's the most surprising thing about all of this so far?
I think it's how fast it's all happening. I mean, just a few years ago, nobody really thought of Salt Lake City as a pro sports city. Now they're getting big league teams, selling out arenas, everyone's paying attention.
It's crazy how quickly it's all changed. What do you think is next for Salt Lake City? Where do they go from here?
That's the big question, right? But I think, looking at what they've done so far, I wouldn't be surprised if they were even bigger, even bolder.
So maybe they're not a huge name in sports yet, but they're definitely making a statement. What could that future look like? What are some ways they could actually grow their sports scene even more?
Well, I think one obvious way is to try to get even more pro teams.
You're thinking baseball,
Yeah.
football.
Yeah, why not? Salt Lake City's got a good minor league baseball team, the Salt Lake Bees. And there's been some talk, maybe an NFL team might end up there someday.
An NFL team, wow. That would really put Salt Lake City on the map.
No doubt about it. But it's not just about getting new teams. It's about hosting those big, huge sporting events, too.
Yeah, those events that everyone watches, the ones that bring in tons of people and media attention.
Exactly. Like the Super Bowl, the NCAA Final Four, even international events.
That's pretty ambitious. Do you think Salt Lake City could actually handle those?
Well, they pulled off the Winter Olympics.
Right.
And if they keep investing in, building things up and they get a reputation as a city that loves sports, I don't see why not.
So it's not just about the teams. It's about making Salt Lake City the place where those big events happen, where the world comes to compete.
Exactly. And this is where those unique things about Salt Lake City really help them. Sustainability is a big deal there. The nature's amazing. And that whole tech scene, all those things could be really attractive for those big events.
Yeah, it's about making a package deal that works for the organizers and also for the athletes and fans who come to these events.
Right. And it's about building something that lasts, It's about using these events to make the city even better, to boost the economy, to put Salt Lake City on the map globally.
It's pretty cool. So maybe they're not a household name in sports yet, but they're building something special. And it's not over yet.
Yeah, the sports world is always changing. You never know who's going to come out on top.
It really shows how powerful it can be when a city has a vision, they plan things out, and the people there really love sports.
It shows that anything's possible.
So what do you think? I mean, you've been following all this. What's the most amazing thing about Salt Lake City's journey in sports so far?
It's pretty wild, Salt Lake City, they're not playing by the usual rules. They're not trying to be like those other big sports cities. They're doing their own thing, taking what makes them special and turning it into this totally unique sports experience. It's authentic,
Yeah, they're not trying to be LA or New York. They're being Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
And that's cool. People like that.
For sure. And it's not just the pro teams. It's like they're building this whole thing up from the bottom, investing in youth sports, creating this culture where sports are just part of life there.
It's like a long game they're playing, not just about winning or losing right now.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what makes it so exciting. It's not just about sports. It's about a city that's using sports to grow, to innovate, to bring everyone together. It's pretty awesome, actually.
We can't talk about all this without talking about Ryan Smith. He's really been the one pushing all this forward. What do you think he's ultimately trying to do?
I think he wants to leave a mark, not just for himself, but for Salt Lake City. He wants people to think of Salt Lake City as a major player in the world of sports.
Yeah, he's not afraid to dream big, that's for sure. We talked about maybe getting more pro teams, hosting those huge events. What else could happen in Salt Lake City?
Well, one thing they could really jump on is esports.
Esports. That's interesting. It's getting so huge. And Salt Lake City, I mean, it's a tech city, lots of young people. It can totally be an esports hub.
Right. They could have these huge tournaments, get pro gaming teams to move there, even build training centers for esports athletes. It's a booming industry. And Salt Lake City could be leading the way.
That would be awesome. Another example of how they're not afraid to do things differently.
Yeah. And think about what that would do for tourism. Salt Lake City's already a big draw for, outdoor stuff. But with esports, That brings in a whole new crowd.
So they're not putting all their eggs in one basket. They want to be a place that has something for everyone.
That's what's so cool about this whole thing. It's not just a sports story. It's about a city that's on the move, embracing new ideas, using sports to reach their goals.
Inspiring, right. Shows other cities, maybe cities that don't think they can be big in sports, that it's possible.
It just goes to show, in the world of sports, if you have a vision, if you're willing to work for it, and you're not afraid to try new things, anything's possible.
So we've gone deep on this, and it's pretty clear. Salt Lake City, they're doing something special. They're defying the odds, they're being innovative, and they're creating a sports culture that's all their own.
Who knows what's going to happen next? But one thing's for sure, Salt Lake City is making a statement. They're not done yet.
From those amazing mountains to those big league dreams, Salt Lake City is showing us that anything is possible. That's it for this deep dive, everyone. Keep learning, keep exploring, and keep cheering on your teams.